Chris Kucera is joining me, and Chris, we're going to talk a little bit more, and we've been talking with a lot of people about integrating into the national airspace using software, and that's what your company does. Give us kind of the 30,000 foot overview of where you are.
Well, I mean, the actual system is called UTM, so it's a UAV traffic management system. We got our experience through the space industry. We built a system called the ComSpoc, the Commercial Space Operations Center. And so what that does is it understands where all the satellites are, and it tries to deconflict their position in space, and also make sure that the transmissions, their radio frequency interference is low and they don't jam each other. So based on our experience in the space business, we brought that to the drone business, and we're building a UAV traffic management system. And our goal is to be able to allow pilots to fly beyond line of sight. Right now it's all visual line of sight.
Right.
So our strength is in the analysis that we provide to move people beyond line of sight.
What does it take to have the aircraft know and recognize where each other are, altitudes and those things, so that they can avoid running into one another or a manned aircraft?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question, and it's also a layered strategy. So, ultimately you'll have vehicles that can avoid other vehicles autonomously. And you heard this morning about Intel and their RealSense technology, which is pretty cool. So, but another layer of that is the UTM. The UTM takes in information from the operator itself. So the operator knows where their vehicle is better than anybody. And that interface between the operator and the UTM is what provides situational awareness over the entire system. So if you have a bunch of operators all with their own vehicles sending all that data into a common system, the UTM, the traffic management system, can just deconflict those traffic.
But when you're, and I'm imagining where you would have multiple drones operating on perhaps different platforms. Is there a way that what it is that you're doing integrates all of those different platforms and allows that deconfliction to happen?
Yeah, through the NASA effort. So it started with NASA Ames, and they had a UTM working group. The UTM working group established some ICDs that talked about how to do that in a standard way. So what we're doing is we're just implementing that ICD, a common ICD, within different control systems. So Mission Planner is an open source, commonly used system that we've interfaced with, and we'll be doing that for many other ground control systems as well. And hopefully people, when they build their ground control system, it implements that ICD so that any of those ground controllers can just seamlessly talk to the UTM. So once the UTM has the information, then inside of our system we'll figure out how to alert those operators when some issue is occurring.
So what does the drone operator have to connect into the UTM?
It has to have a ground control system that implements the ICD. So all he's doing is talking to the drone in real time, if it's a beyond line of sight type drone, and getting that positional information and sending it in at a predetermined rate. So it could be 1 position per second or 5 positions per second, something like that. But they have to implement either the interface with the UTM, or there has to be some sort of, we call them a puck, but something that sits on the drone that's sending that information into the system.
So there is additional hardware that's involved?
There could be. Our system, we don't have hardware right now that we're using. We're just using complete software interfaces. And we think that the data that comes from the ground control software, its actual telemetry link, is the best data that's available. That's what's being used to fly the drone.
So is that software loaded on the drone as well?
No, the software resides only in the ground control system.
Okay.
So, and the benefit of this is that it uses the internet to transmit the data. I don't necessarily have to have hardware to make this work. The operator already knows where its drone is, and it's going to send that information to the UTM.
Where do you see this expanding? How do you see what it is that you're doing growing beyond where you are right now?
Oh, lots of different ways. So first of all, I think there's issues right now about drone identification. So what we're trying to learn with the government is how do we allow situational awareness to people that need it, like police officers that might be protecting an area, and they see a drone flying by and they want to know if that's a good operation or a bad operation. So the UTM itself gives those people that need to know whether that operation is good or bad. So that's one thing, and I think that the people that need that information need it in a mobile platform, right? So we collect it in a system, but giving that information back out in a way that they can easily use it. So in our company, we've built augmented reality capabilities where you could take your cell phone and put it up in the sky, and it will paint a picture of the drone in the background. And you could click on the drone and it would tell you who it is and what it's supposed to be doing. If it's not in the system, they're not cooperating, they might be a bad actor, and then you have to look into it more. So,
what kind of interaction have you had to have with the FAA in developing this software and implementing it on aircraft?
We're learning through NASA, who's an R&D arm of the FAA, and they really have authority to kind of work with the user community to build the system out. We're also a member of the Small UAV Coalition. We have regular meetings with the FAA to understand their concerns and help guide them in terms of the different data that they establish and how they present that data to the user community. So one thing that they came out recently was the rule to not fly drones over military bases. And so they pushed that information out to a website. We learned how to get that information and ingest it into the UTM. So now anybody that wants to fly a drone can understand how to stay away from restricted areas.
So is it sort of like geofencing on steroids in that sense?
In many ways it is geofencing, but what we're really trying to get down to is where can you fly, I mean, the restricted areas should be small and we should understand where they are so that we know where we can go. One of the frustrations has been, well, we have to build something new to be able to go out and fly, and a premise of ours is to understand what infrastructure we currently have that can enable flight. So if LTE is going to be used for command and control, where is LTE available for command and control? Let's not wait till the next technology comes out. Let's figure out what we can do with the current technology. Same thing with radar. If radar can see a general aviation aircraft already, well, maybe that's an area that drones should be permitted to fly.
But the radar would have a difficult time, I would think, seeing something as small as a drone.
If the drone itself is communicating with the UAV traffic management system, then I know where it is. So I can keep it out of the way of a general aviation aircraft. The general aviation aircraft pilot probably shouldn't even be bothered by the drone. I should be able to keep the drone out of his way.
So you mentioned that if LTE is what's being used for command and control, and it's pretty common knowledge that LTE is about to be supplanted by the next big thing in cellular data. Is your company nimble enough then to be able to take whatever is that next big thing and incorporate that into your command and control structure?
Yeah, there's two ways. So first of all, we're not commanding or controlling anything. We're just gathering information and doing deconfliction. Okay. So whatever technology people are using to get the data down from their drone, they just send that to us through the internet. But the secondary part of it is understanding how that infrastructure works so that when they're planning the flight, you know that they have good command and control. So what we have to do in that sense is be able to model the next infrastructure that comes out for command and control, whether that's SATCOM or 5G and modeling phased array. So we have to be nimble to model the infrastructure and be able to give some sort of level of risk to the operator that they might incur during the flight.
Do you feel like what it is that you're doing will help advance the cause of integration of UAVs into the national airspace?
For sure, yeah. I think even before that, let's get them flying. I mean, let's break the barrier of beyond visual line of sight. Let's understand what it means to prove a safety case to the FAA. So does that mean proving where you have command and control? Does that mean understanding how GPS accuracy affects your flight? Or understanding what airspaces you need to stay out of? What does a safety case look like to the FAA to be able to fly beyond visual line of sight? And that's our number one goal, is to understand that menu and prepare that for the operator as a safety case for the FAA.
Well, Chris, I hope you have a great show here. We are out of time, unfortunately, but it's been a pleasure to speak with you, and interesting stuff. I'd like to come over and have a look and get a little bit better idea in my head as to what it is that you're talking about.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
We really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the Association for Unmanned Vehicle Systems International's Exponential 2017, live from Dallas, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.
Let Patrick Neal and Associates provide the legal expertise needed to navigate the commercial UAS industry. Whether it be waivers, exemptions, operational plans, or other issues, we can provide the guidance you need to keep flying and building your successful UAS operation. www.droneattorneys.us.
In collaboration with NASC, introducing Sonix Aerospace, bringing you the Taros Group 4 UAS, the redesigned Tiger Shark Block 4, and the Subsonics Twin Jet UAS, all derived from flight-proven manned systems, not concepts, real aircraft. More at sonixaerospace.com.